10% too much for someone like you. Serena Mallory said it without blinking, the same way someone might brush lint off their sleeve. I remember the exact sharpness of her voice, the small laugh afterward, the way her eyes skimmed past me like I was a minor inconvenience she needed to clear off her schedule. I had come into her office with a binder of results, 7 years of improvements laid out in charts and reports, and she didn't even open it. "You want a raise," she said, leaning back in her chair. "Layla, you work in the back office. You are not strategic talent. You do not get 10% raises." "I improved our routing model," I told her quietly. "The one that cut delivery delays?" Serena waved a hand. "A lucky adjustment. And even if it were more, you know the rule. To reach upper management, you need my approval first. And I am not signing off on anything until I see something worth it." There was nothing more to say. I closed my binder slowly so she wouldn't hear the tremor in my hands. She had already dismissed me, turning to her phone, scrolling, humming. I walked out of her office feeling smaller than I had felt in years. 3 weeks later, I stood in front of her again, only this time the silence came from her. I placed an envelope on her desk. She didn't open it right away. She just stared at the company letterhead she knew too well. "Northline Logistics," she said, her voice thin. "You contacted them." "They contacted me," I replied, though we both knew the truth was more complicated. I had dialed a number I had kept hidden in my notes, a number I had been too afraid to use. But humiliation has a way of clearing fear out of your throat. Serena finally opened the letter, and the moment her eyes registered the title, the salary, and the signature of her longest-standing competitor, the color drained from her face. "You went around me," she whispered. "I stood straighter than I ever had in that office." "You told me I needed your permission." I decided to find out if that was true. Her mouth opened, then closed, and the silence between us cracked open something inside me, something steady, something done with shrinking. As I stepped out of her office for the last time, I knew I wasn't walking away from a job. I was walking toward the version of myself I had been too scared to become. When someone blocks the door, how far are you willing to go to build your own? "Your name isn't on here again," I said once, holding a quarterly report out to my coworker, Daniel. He glanced at it, shrugged, and murmured, "It never is." "Layla, you know how Serena works." I did know. I had known it for years. Still, hearing it out loud felt like someone quietly confirming a bruise I had been pretending wasn't there. 7 years. 7 years of staying late, fixing what others broke, redesigning systems no one else wanted to touch. And every time a project succeeded, someone congratulated Serena for her innovation while I stood 2 feet away, smiling like it didn't matter. I heard my father's voice every time I thought about leaving stability as worth more than pride. "Layla, keep your head down and you will be safe." I used to believe that. I clung to it like a shield. One afternoon, Serena approached my desk with her usual briskness. "I need your routing model notes," she said, tapping the surface without looking at me. "Upper management wants a summary for tomorrow." I handed her the folder. "Do they know I built the model?" She paused, just long enough for me to feel it. "They know it came from my department," she said. "That is all they need." When she turned away, Daniel leaned toward me. "You deserve more than this," he whispered. Later that week, I opened an internal memo by accident. Serena had forwarded it to my inbox instead of her own. The headline read, "New Efficiency Framework Developed by Department Lead Serena Mallory." Every line described my work, my calculations, my logic, my structure. She had even lifted a sentence from my original draft word for word. I went to her office doorway. "You took credit for the framework," I said quietly. Serena didn't look up from her laptop. "I refined it," she replied, "and I presented it. Presentation is half the work." It was mine. I said. She finally glanced up. "Then consider this practice for the day you are ready to lead." Until then, the department needs a single voice. That voice is mine. 7 years of swallowing those moments pressed hard against my ribs. I walked back to my desk, sat down, and felt the last thread of loyalty twist painfully inside me. At what point does loyalty turn into self-betrayal? Upper management held a brief meeting that morning, the kind where only department heads were invited. When Serena returned, she walked past my desk with a bright, triumphant smile. "They loved the breakthrough," she announced loudly, dropping her bag on her chair. "Told me it was one of the strongest ideas to come out of our division in years." I looked up from my screen. "Did they ask who created it?" "They asked how I created it," Serena replied, smoothing her blouse. And I told them the truth. Leadership comes from clarity and direction. Daniel, sitting 2 desks away, muttered, "Unbelievable," under his breath. Serena pretended not to hear. Later that afternoon, I drafted an email to the Vice President of Operations. I kept it professional in introduction, a summary of my contributions, a sample of my efficiency reports. My hands shook when I hovered over send, but I pressed it. It felt like trying to breathe after holding my breath for 7 years. 5 minutes later, I received a reply, not from the vice president, from Serena. "Layla," her email began, "let me be clear, upper-level communication must go through me. Next time, route all communication through me before you embarrass yourself." I stood and walked to her office door. "You forwarded my email back to me," I said. Serena didn't look up. "Of course I did." "You are not ready for that kind of exposure." "I was introducing myself." "You introduce yourself through me," she said. "That is how the structure works." I stepped closer. Why can't I speak for myself about my own work?" Serena sighed, finally turning her chair toward me. "Because you are not a leader yet. And because if every analyst tried to skip the chain of command, this place would fall apart." She folded her hands. "You want visibility, earn it through me." Daniel approached when I returned to my desk. "She shut you down again," he whispered. I nodded. It felt like a door had been slammed and bolted from the other side. If a gate is locked, do you keep knocking or find another entrance? I sat at my desk long after the office quieted, scrolling through emails I had ignored for months. Daniel had already left. Serena's door was closed, light still glowing underneath like she was guarding something. Maybe she was. Maybe it was me. One subject line caught my eye, an old message from Charlotte Reyes, Director of Strategy at Northline Logistics. I remembered the day she sent it. She had spoken to me after a regional analytics conference, shaking my hand with a confidence I envied. "Your model is sharp," she had said. "If you ever want to be valued properly, call me." Back then, the idea had felt impossible. I had responsibilities. I had stability. I had Serena. I clicked the email again. Her number sat at the bottom, bold and clear. I hovered my thumb over the delete key. "Thinking of cleaning your inbox." Serena's voice startled me. She stood at the edge of my cubicle, her arms crossed. "Make sure you archive anything related to our projects. Upper management may want to review them." "Our projects," I asked. "They need a single narrative," she replied. "It keeps things tidy." She walked away before I could respond. Minutes later, an internal announcement appeared on the company dashboard. "Serena Mallory presents new optimization strategy to executive team. My strategy, my calculations, my late nights." Daniel appeared beside me, reading over my shoulder. "She did it again," he whispered. I didn't answer. My hand moved on its own, opening Charlotte's message again. I stared at her number until it blurred. "This will burn a bridge," I murmured. Daniel looked at me. "Maybe it's a bridge you shouldn't have been standing on." I swallowed hard, thumb trembling as I tapped call. The line rang once. Layla Charlotte's voice was bright, immediate, certain. "I was hoping you'd reach out." I closed my eyes, letting her certainty steady me. What if the real risk isn't leaving, but staying? Charlotte chose a small table near the window, the kind that let her keep her back straight and her eyes focused. When I walked in, she stood immediately. Layla, finally. Her smile was warm but sharp, like she had been expecting this moment far longer than I had. I hope I'm not interrupting your evening, I said, sliding into the seat across from her. You are improving it, she replied. Tell me what happened. I hesitated. Serena dismissed my raise request. 10%. She laughed like I had told a joke. Charlotte nodded once, as if confirming something she already suspected. She has always underestimated the wrong people. I have been watching Meridian Freight's numbers for years. The shifts were too precise, too consistent to be hers. I stared at her. You knew. Of course I knew. Charlotte leaned forward. Your predictive routing, your cost reduction loop from last winter. The realignment you did 3 years ago that forced half the region to change their models. Layla, that was your signature thinking. It is unmistakable. My throat tightened. Serena never mentioned any of that. She would not. Charlotte said simply, she benefits from your invisibility, but I do not. I blinked. Why me? Why now? Charlotte reached into her bag and pulled out a folder. Because Northline is restructuring. I need a strategic operations manager, 1 level below executive management, someone who can design, implement, and lead without being told to shrink. I opened the folder. The offer inside felt unreal, a salary nearly double what I earned, performance incentives, immediate project authority, a direct line to leadership. This is, I started, deserved. Charlotte cut in. And overdue. I don't know if Charlotte lifted a hand. Serena may control that building, but she does not control your future. You built systems that changed our entire market, and you did it while someone else took the applause. I looked at the offer again, then at Charlotte, who watched me like she already saw who I could become. When someone finally sees your worth, she said softly, the only question left is whether you see it too. When someone finally sees your worth, what stops you from stepping into the light? Why do you look like you're about to jump off a bridge? Daniel asked as soon as I sat down that morning. I kept my voice low. I met with Charlotte. She made an offer. He stared at me. A real one. 1 level below executive management, I whispered. Nearly double my salary. Daniel exhaled slowly. Layla, you have to take it. I know, I said, but leaving means walking away from people who depended on me, and Serena will before I could finish. Serena's heels clicked down the aisle. Layla, she said, stopping at my desk. Human Resources needs you at 10 o'clock for a performance review. It is mandatory. Daniel's eyes widened. A review mid-quarter. Serena smiled thinly. Some concerns have been raised. We want to make sure you are aligned. When she walked away, Daniel leaned close. She is trying to trap you. I know. I murmured. The timing isn't an accident. At 10 o'clock, I walked into the HR office. A representative named Jenna sat stiffly behind her laptop. Layla, we've received feedback that your engagement has declined. Jenna began. I folded my hands. From whom Jenna hesitated. Your department lead. Did she provide examples? She said you attempted to bypass the chain of command. I sent an introductory email. I replied, no confidential information. No issues with protocol. Jenna cleared her throat. There is also concern you may be exploring opportunities outside the company. I stared at her. Is that part of my performance review? No, she admitted, but Serena felt it could indicate a lack of commitment. I closed the folder she'd given me without reading a single line. I am not signing anything today. Jenna nodded, relieved. Almost. You are allowed to review it first. When I walked out, Serena was waiting by the hallway. I hope you understand, she said. I cannot have you embarrassing the department by job hunting. If you are unhappy, We address it internally. I have nothing to say right now, I replied. Her eyes narrowed. Then say less. I walked past her, each step heavier than the last. But inside, something finally shifted. Not anger clarity. Every push she gave me only made Charlotte's offer feel more like oxygen. When you have been underestimated for years, how do you choose the moment to take back control? I stepped into Serena's office after lunch, a plain envelope in my hand. She didn't look up. If this is about the review, she said, I do not have time to revisit it. It's not. I replied. She finally lifted her eyes, and when she saw the envelope, a smirk tugged at her mouth. A resignation. Layla, be serious. You are not going anywhere. I am, I said quietly, placing the letter on her desk. Serena tapped the envelope with her nail. You will withdraw this by tomorrow. The market is unstable. You would not survive 3 months without this department. I slid a second document across the surface. I will be fine. She picked it up lazily until she saw the North Line letterhead. The change was instant. Her face tightened, her back straightened, her voice dropped. You went to her, she spat. I followed your advice. I said, steady. I reached upper management. Just not yours. Her eyes darted across the page again, the title, the salary, the authority. A leadership role she never let me apply for. A position 1 level below executive management. You are not qualified for this, she hissed. Charlotte thinks I am. Serena slammed the folder shut. You blindsided this department. I asked for 10%. I said, you laughed, and then you tried to bury me. I am not staying buried. Before she could reply. Her phone lit up. A major client's name flashed across the screen. Serena answered sharply. Yes, she is still here. Why? A pause, then her color drained. You want Layla to continue supporting your projects at North Line, she repeated, voice cracking. I stood. They trust my work, I said. They always did. As I walked out, the hallway felt different, lighter, wider, as if I had taken my voice back 1 sentence at a time. What does a system built on silencing people do when the silence finally breaks? Charlotte handed me the results of my first North Line project. Your redesign cut costs by nearly $200,000 in 6 weeks, she said. The board wants you presenting next quarter. For the first time in years, I heard my own name spoken with pride. During a break, Daniel texted me, call me when you can. I stepped into an empty hallway and returned the call. He answered immediately. Layla, they are restructuring, he said. Serena's department is being torn apart. My stomach tightened. Who's affected half the team? Some are being moved. Some. He exhaled shakily. Some are gone. People are saying it's because you left. That's not fair, I whispered. Serena says you abandoned us. He added quietly. She told upper management she warned you about loyalty. I leaned against the wall, gripping the phone. Daniel, I did not do this. I know, he said, but not everyone sees it that way. A silence stretched, heavy and familiar. You should not feel guilty for choosing yourself. Daniel finally said, Meridian didn't fall apart because you left. It fell apart because Serena never let anyone grow. I nodded, even though he couldn't see it. Are you safe for now? He replied, and I'm proud of you. When the call ended, Charlotte approached. Everything all right? I took a breath, just old echoes from a place I used to call home. Her expression softened. Echoes fade. The work you're doing here won't. Can you move forward without carrying the weight of the place you left behind? Charlotte walked into my office holding her tablet. Have you seen this? She asked. I shook my head, and she handed it to me. An industry publication had released a report titled Misattributed Innovation at Meridian Freight. Serena's name appeared again and again, each mention tied to work she had claimed but never created. Charlotte said, Analysts are asking how she managed to take credit for so many projects. I read quietly, my chest tightening. They finally noticed. That is not all. Charlotte swiped to another page. An anonymous source leaked documents, internal emails, revision histories, everything showing who actually built the systems. Daniel, I asked. Possibly, she said. But the whistleblower included details only someone inside Meridian could know. I scrolled farther. Another headline, Department lead removed amid investigation. She is gone, Charlotte said. Not because you left, because they finally looked. I set the tablet down. She kept everyone silent for years. I let her silence me too. Charlotte crossed her arms. You are not silent now, and you are not alone. That afternoon, I met with a group of junior analysts. They gathered around a table, notebooks ready. One of them, a young woman named Tessa, said, "We heard you want us to present our own work next quarter." "Yes," I replied. "Your ideas deserve your voice," another analyst asked. "Even if leadership disagrees. Especially then," I said. Tessa smiled. "No one has ever said that to us." I nodded, feeling something settle inside me, something steady and grounded. If you had the chance to reshape the path for others, would you take it? The industry summit in downtown Chicago buzzed with conversations, introductions, and polished smiles. Charlotte and I had barely stepped inside when she nudged me gently. "Front left," she murmured. I followed her gaze. Serena stood alone near a refreshments table. No VIP badge, no cluster of executives around her, just another guest. Her posture was smaller than I remembered, shoulders drawn in as if she hoped no one would notice her. Charlotte whispered, "You do not owe her anything." "I know," I said, but my feet were already moving. Serena looked up the moment I stopped in front of her. Her breath caught. "Layla," she said quickly. "I did not expect I know." I replied, "You never expected me." She swallowed. "If you are here to gloat, I am not," I said, keeping my voice steady. I only wanted to say one thing. Her eyes darted to the floor. "Go ahead. You once told me I needed your approval to rise," I said, but the only approval I ever needed was my own. For a second, her expression wavered anger, regret, fear, all flickering at once. But she said nothing, and that silence, after everything she had done to control mine, was its own kind of justice. I stepped back. "Take care of yourself. Serena." She nodded but didn't lift her eyes. When I returned to Charlotte, she asked, "Feel better?" "Not better," I said. Clearer. The next week, I launched a visibility initiative at Northline. Every analyst would present their own work, every contribution documented and credited. The room buzzed with energy I had never seen before. As I listened to a junior staff member explain her model with confidence she didn't have months earlier, something inside me settled. I had not just escaped Serena's shadow, I had outgrown it. What could your life become if you stopped waiting for someone else to validate your worth?